One of my favorite guitar pedals of all time is actually a pedal that I've never owned. I just like the idea of it. It is the Fairfield Circuitry Shallow Water, which you may have heard of. If not, it is a pedal that kind of does a lot of things at once. Mostly it responds to your dynamics and velocity of your playing, typically playing a guitar, but it could be any instrument. And depending on how hard you play, it'll open up a gate that will let more of the clean signal through. If you play softer, the gate's closed. And when the gate is closed, it's all like warbly and filtered and sounds really cool. And then that kind of goes away as you play harder. So, like I said, I've never owned the physical version of that pedal, but there is a free Ableton device called Shoal that is based on the Fairfield Circuitry Shallow Water, and that's what we're going to look at today. So first, I'm actually going to start on my iPad. I'm going to generate just a little piano loop that I'm then going to send to my desktop, and we'll process that through Ableton. The reason that I'm starting on my iPad is because for some reason, chord generators and MIDI generator apps for iPad are way cheaper than they are for desktop. Like for example, Chord Jam is 1/5 of the price on iPad versus desktop. I have a lot of MIDI and chord generator apps, but I don't have a lot of desktop plugins. So I'm just gonna generate something and then shoot it over to my Mac Mini. So right here on my iPad, we're gonna be in Ohm. I'm gonna use an app called Piano Motifs, and I'm gonna generate a new loop. And this will go out to Decent Sampler, which is running RIST from here at Field Tone Audio. RIST is a distressed piano sample library that you can grab for $15 at fieldtoneaudio.com. If you don't want to spend $15, there is RIST Fragments, which is a free version of this, and it has 5 of these patches included, and you can grab that for free. Decent Sampler is free. RIST Fragments is free, so you can be set up pretty nicely with some cool piano sounds without having to spend a penny. But if you like what you hear and you want to support Field Tone Audio and you want some more patches that I've designed, take a look in the description. Might help you out a little bit. So up here in the routing matrix, I have Piano Motifs going to Decent Sampler. Let's try F# Dorian. This is cool. We'll record that. So I'm going to hit record here in Ohm, hit play, or hit record. And we'll let that loop. And then I'll send that from my iPad to my Mac Mini. All right, that should be enough. Then I'm going to export this MIDI. I'll have this MIDI available on the Field Tone Audio Patreon, link in the description. You can join that for free. I put a lot of stuff on there, links to other resources, YouTube videos, and stuff like this. It's just all available for free. There are paid options as well if you want extra stuff, but I do share a lot for free. Now let's go to Audioshare. So I will send this to my desktop. Now we'll move over there. So now we have this on my desktop. It'll be in my downloads. Decent Sampler. Here we go. Put that in audio. Great. So now we have that in there. Let's drag in Shoal. And Shoal is that little guy right down there in the corner, that little box. As you can see, not a whole lot going on from a user interface standpoint, but I'll kind of walk you through some of the parameters. This is how it sounds stock, just right when you load it. So you can hear that warble, the filtered sound. Sounds a little old. On the right side, you have a compressor. I'm gonna go ahead, just throw a limiter on here. I always set my limiter to -3. I don't know why, don't ask me. I've just always done it that way. So you have your typical compressor parameters down here. But then on the left side, the darker side, you have more of the like shallow water effects. So this damp, I have the mix turned all the way up, by the way. So here's the clip from my iPad. And then here is that going through Shoal. So if you have the damp all the way up, you're not going to hear anything really, but the more you decrease the damp, you'll get that warble. And if you increase the rate, it gets really dramatic and crazy. But you can keep that low. You do have a couple different wave options for that. There's a random, a sine, and like a random square. I like the random because it gives it a little bit more of an unpredictable feel, which I feel like something sort of vintage should have. And then you have a low pass gate, which is going to be kind of like the filter. And you can hear, like I was saying, those louder velocity notes kind of cut through that filter a little bit more than the quieter notes do. Then you can bring that all the way back. But I love having that. That dynamic is just so cool. What's cool to do in Ableton too is you can put an LFO in the chain and click on map and then click on one of these parameters and you can have this LFO control that parameter. So in this case, controlling the damp. Actually, let's send it to the low pass gate. We can decrease the rate, which will make that a slower filter opening. And then we can decrease the depth. And then if we move the starting point on this slider, this knob, if we increase the rate, imagine like this is the starting point that we just determined on the parameter itself. Increasing the depth will like make it go from this to like a little bit more drastic. So if that's helpful to think about it that way. You can move that starting point and then just to make it more dramatic so you can see what it's doing. You can really see that. But then if we decrease the depth, you can see it doesn't move as wide. I like to keep it low, but still have it do something. So that's cool to do. You could also put an LFO on the mix. I think that could be interesting. So mix is cool. I think damp would be cooler. And I mean, that's a really cool effect right there with 2 LFOs and Shoal and a limiter. And then, I mean, what I always like to do is add a delay. A dark delay. And then a reverb. I like dark delays and dark reverbs. And then if we wanted to even more, put a filter before the delay. Shoal already has a filter, but we'll go till when we can just start to hear Shoal. And then increase the drive. So that's just some simple, easy stuff you could do on top of what Shoal already does, but we'll take the filter out. Bring the decay time down on the reverb. And that's how that sounds on a piano, which I think is just absolutely beautiful. So let's add an instrument in here. Let's do, I don't know, let's do some strings. So we can do, so there's with no Shoal. Let's put Shoal on. So that's just a few things that you can do with Shoal, which again is free. But I would encourage you, like I said, to donate a couple dollars to this dev. Phritz, I believe, is their name. There'll be a link in the description for you to find that. So much fun and just such a wonderful effect. Just sounding so brittle and delicate, but I think there's just so much beauty in that, especially on like something like an upright piano. I think just sounds absolutely gorgeous through the shallow water and through Shoal. I hope you enjoyed this video. There are links to RIST in the description, both the free and paid versions. There's a link to my Patreon, and there is, of course, a link for Shoal in the description. So, happy creating. We'll talk soon.